Here's the brief. News from the world over this week. There is renewed resolve from the U.S. and Great Britain following the execution of a second American journalist by the Islamic State. The jihadist group released an internet video of the beheading of Stephen Sotloff. Sotloff's life was threatened on camera after the execution of journalist James Foley last month. In the latest video, ISIS threatens another prisoner. This time, a British national is brought forward, a terrorist insisting that the UK back off its, quote, evil alliance with America. Speaking from Estonia, President Barack Obama vowed to degrade and destroy ISIS. In London, Prime Minister David Cameron told Parliament on Wednesday the UK won't be cowed by these barbaric killers. 2 days earlier, Cameron introduced new emergency legislation to fight the ISIS threat domestically and abroad. We will delve into all of this in our next segment. And the growing jihadi threat is beginning to spill beyond the borders of Iraq and Syria. On Wednesday, thousands of angry mourners buried a Lebanese soldier beheaded by the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front terrorists from Syria. The 29-year-old sergeant was among 24 or so Lebanese soldiers captured after militants seized a border town. The jihadi threat from the Syria-based militants is unprecedented in Lebanon, and Israel is sounding the alarm after a mix of Syrian rebel forces, including Nusra Front militants, took over a border crossing station just yards from the Golan Heights. Israeli farmers were cleared from a vineyard where mortar shells landed. Israeli officials told the AP that the rebels have their sights set on Syria for now, but they're keeping a close eye. ISIS jihadis weren't the only ones trying to send a message to America and the world. In Columbus, Indiana, 3 churches were vandalized, spray-painted with the word infidels and references to a Quranic verse that reads, "We will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Their refuge will be the fire, and wretched is the residence of the wrongdoers." Father Doug Marcotte, the associate pastor at St. Bartholomew's, one of the churches vandalized, said of the message, "It's certainly not a warm and fuzzy verse." He questioned whether the perpetrators were sincere or just nasty pranksters. Police are investigating. And in a meeting with Pope Francis on Thursday, retired Israeli President Shimon Peres has proposed a new global peace initiative, a United Nations of Religions. Peres noted that most wars today have religious, not nationalistic undercurrents, and that the UN is ill-suited to handle today's conflicts. Peres suggests that the UN of religions is the best way to fight terrorists who kill in the name of God. The two men last met when Francis invited the then Israeli president and Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas to pray for peace in the Vatican Gardens on June 8th. A few weeks later, war broke out in the Gaza Strip. In a related story, a bishop in the Holy Land is lamenting the destruction of Gaza after returning from a visit with the Christian community there. In comments made to Vatican-affiliated Fides News, Jerusalem's auxiliary bishop William Shomali noted that in one district, 80% of the homes and buildings have been reduced to heaps of rubble. He compared what he saw to the cities razed to the ground in World War II. During the 6-week Israeli-Gaza conflict, Israel forces leveled several areas believed to be Hamas strongholds. 2,000 Palestinians were killed. Bishop Somali said there is a growing hostility toward Israel among Christians and Muslims there, and by no means a consensus regarding the actions of Hamas. And a rare victory for traditional marriage in the courts this week in the United States. Louisiana's law defining traditional marriage and its refusal to recognize same-sex marriages performed in other states were upheld by U.S. District Judge Martin Feldman. Feldman's ruling Wednesday was the first to uphold a state ban since the U.S. Supreme Court struck down part of the Federal Defense of Marriage Act last year. In 2004, 78% of Louisiana voters approved a constitutional amendment defining traditional marriage. Meanwhile, a federal appeals judge struck down traditional marriage laws in Indiana and Wisconsin. And in New York, St. Patrick's Day parade organizers announced that they are allowing a gay activist group to march in the parade. Out at NBC Universal, described as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transsexual support group for the TV network, will march under its own banner. This is the first and a policy change for the organization. In the past, the parade organizers refused to allow gay rights groups or any other activist groups to carry signs. Since 1762, the parade has honored the Irish Catholic saint as it processes along Fifth Avenue in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Cardinal Timothy Dolan called the decision, quote, a wise one, noting that he and his predecessors have never determined who would or would not march in the parade. Cardinal Dolan is the Grand Marshal for the 2015 parade. On Thursday, Catholic League President Bill Donahue, a participant in the march, issued a statement. In it, he reports that parade organizers are open to including other gay groups in the parade. A spokesman for parade organizers said anyone can apply when asked if a pro-abortion group could join the parade. Donahue wrote, quote, the goal of these activists, supported by the corporate elite, is to neuter the religious element of the parade, end quote. And it's no secret that Archbishop Fulton Sheen was mistreated by the Archdiocese of New York during his lifetime. Now some are contending he's being mistreated in death. The official cause for canonization for America's first televangelist has come to an abrupt and shocking halt. The New York Archdiocese is refusing to release Sheen's body for the purposes of advancing his cause for sainthood. Sheen is buried in the crypt of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Under canon law, the body is to be inspected from where the cause originated. In this case, the Diocese of Peoria, where Archbishop Sheen was ordained a priest. Peoria Bishop Daniel Janke announced the suspension of the cause 12 years in the making on Wednesday. He noted that he had been personally assured on several occasions by New York that the transfer of the body would take place at the appropriate time. Now, according to Janke, following discussions with Rome, Sheen's cause will now be relegated to the Congregation of the Cause of Saints Historic Archive. A person close to the situation told EWTN News that Cardinal Timothy Dolan had recently written Bishop Janke, asserting that under no circumstances would the body or relics of Archbishop Sheen be moved to Peoria. That refusal effectively stalls the official Sheen cause and the anticipated first beatification of an American-born male. This is not the first time New York has turned down the Sheen cause. New York was offered one, if not two, previous opportunities to advance the cause before Peoria stepped forward 12 years ago. Cardinal Edward Egan, the former Archbishop of New York, refused to participate. In a statement late Thursday, the Archdiocese says Cardinal Dolan was hesitant to exhume Sheen's body, but does not object to the collection of relics that could be shared with Peoria. We'll keep you updated on this perplexing saga. A hashtag campaign is already underway online. People are tweeting hashtag Free Fulton Sheen. And it appears the demise of the late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez has been greatly exaggerated. During a Socialist Party meeting on Monday, the government presented what it called the Delegate's Prayer. It's titled Our Chavez. Yes, it is patterned on the Our Father. It reads in part, Our Chavez, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Give us this day light to guide us, and lead us not into the temptation of capitalism. Cardinal Jorge Urosa Savino of Caracas called the prayer idolatrous. He said praying it's a sin, and he urged the government to stop distributing the prayer. And finally, the raucous, acerbic, viciously funny comedian Joan Rivers is dead at 81. The comic, talk show host, and QVC entrepreneur died in New York following a routine procedure in her doctor's Manhattan office. She was hospitalized for several days. Joan Rivers broke down barriers for female comics and continued to ply her trade until the very end. Rivers, who made "Can We Talk" a trademark, spared no race or creed in her act, but perhaps the thing she will most be remembered for is her pioneering red carpet coverage and "What are you wearing?" question that has been copied by so many. She was unafraid to poke fun at celebrities and expose their foibles. She was fearless. May Joan Rivers rest in peace.